Hi, I'm Karen Beach with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library Foundation, and thanks for joining us today with Happy Hour with HarperCollins. I am so excited to have some of my favorite people here today from Library Marketing with HarperCollins. It's Virginia Stanley, Lainey Mays, and Chris Connolly. And for all of you tuning in, if you've ever attended the Library Foundation's annual Verse and Vino event, this crew that you see on the screen are some of the fantastic people that help bring lots of great authors to Verse and Vino this year. So Lainey, Chris, and Virginia, welcome to Charlotte today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to talk to you and to the patrons about some highlights from our summer list. We're excited to do this. This is a great opportunity for us. We really appreciate it.
Well, we're very excited. I know we're going to get into lots of titles here in just a second. I want to tell everybody to give us some comments. Let us know that you're here. We'd love to know, as you hear from Virginia and Chris and Lainey, some of the titles. If you like the titles, give us some thumbs up or some comments or whatnot. We'd love to know what you think. We're also going to be doing a really special giveaway, as well, a little random drawing. And we'll get to that in a second. And again, I mentioned Verse and Vino. Folks, I would love to know if you've come in the past, but let me just give you a little quick rundown of who library marketing here at HarperCollins has brought to us in the past. It's such a big group, I had to write them down. So if you've ever heard here in Charlotte, Ron Rash, Lauren Oliver, Gregory McGuire, TJ English, Dolan Perkins Valdez, Karen Slaughter, and you helped us have her just a few weeks ago too. Ramon Alam, Lisa Turner, Wiley Cash, Kate White, Nikki Giovanni, which was a really treat for us, Lou Burning, and last year, which was just a fan favorite, Kevin Wilson. So that's an incredible group of authors that you have brought to Verse and Vino over the years, and we're so excited. Normally, this time of the year, I would be seeing you in New York, and we'd be talking about Verse and Vino. So we're gonna, just so everybody knows, we're still planning Verse and Vino November 5th. Keep in touch with us either through our social media. Make sure you're on our mailing list, and you'll be getting some updates about Verse and Vino as we go along through the summer, but we're still going to be talking about some great Verse and Vino authors. Hopefully, and I'm going to turn it to Virginia around Dottie Benton Frank. And Dottie Frank was such a fun author that we had the great opportunity to work with you to bring twice to our library, and I know our crowd always loved hearing from Dottie. So you were so wonderful to share a mint julep recipe with us that hopefully many of you out in the crowd, in the audience, you've had a chance to take a look at that. And I made a little special one. So I want to say cheers. I made a watermelon mint julep. I hope Dottie would appreciate that today. I went a little rogue, made a little watermelon mint julep.
I'm sure she would approve. Here's to you. Thank you.
Cheers.
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 Cheers to Dottie.
So we mentioned Dottie and her mint julep, and what Virginia, Chris, and Lainey have been so kind is to help us kind of jumpstart some of your summer reading by allowing us to do a random drawing of Dot's last adult book, which was Queen Bee. And so if you are interested in being in our drawing to receive a copy of Queen Bee, make sure you comment below, tell us you're here, and tell us Queen Bee, and we'll know that you're interested in that drawing, and we'll do a random drawing out of everybody that's in there. We got a little handful of books, and we'll make sure we get those out to you as soon as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to let Virginia, Chris, and Lainey take it away, and I'm so excited to know all the great titles that you're going to tell us about. I would hope that you would tell us a little bit about what library marketing does. Like, who are you? What do you do for libraries? And I'm also kind of curious. I'm always kind of curious, what makes a summer read or a summer book versus when a book comes out in the fall or winter? Is there a theme? Is there a rhyme or reason for that? So I don't know who wants to start first.
Oh, I'll just jump off for 2 seconds and then hand it over to Chris and Lainey. But first of all, again, many thanks for having us on. And it's been so wonderful to work with you, Karen, over the years on Verse and Vino and author events, like having Karen Slaughter on the draft it was a couple of weeks ago now, but it was wonderful to a great opportunity for her and for us. And what I do is I've been at Harper a long time and have been doing library marketing, which is basically bringing our books and our authors to librarians. So while ultimately the goal is to have patrons, everyone who's watching today, read the book, our job is to get that book into the hands of librarians, to raise awareness of those books that we feel very passionately about. I mean, in addition to sort of those big blockbuster, very well-known authors, I think that for the most part, Chris, Lainey, and I very much focus on while we do focus on those, we do also focus on sort of new and mid-list authors. There are so many wonderful reads out there that we all fall in love with. And the three of us have very different tastes as far as our books, our reading taste are concerned. So it's always fun to sort of share with each other. What we call it a Venn diagram, when like that center part is when all three of us kind of like the same thing, is kind of cool. So we do library marketing through, advertising and going to conferences. And now, because all of that has come to a screeching halt because of the pandemic, we are doing things virtually like this right now, like talking to librarians and talking to staff and talking to patrons and raising awareness of books and getting our authors out there. So Chris, you want to talk about virtual author visits?
Yeah, I had been working with Karen for a while now. I think I'm in my 5th year. It's weird to say, at HarperCollins Publishers. So I was handling in-person author events, bringing them to events like Verse and Vino. Kevin Wilson, one of my proudest things. I feel like he's one of our favorite people. So if any of you had the opportunity to see him speak, that's what it's all about, is bringing authors to libraries and ultimately the patrons as well. So now that everything is virtual, we've set up a program where we reach out to libraries reach out to us, and we can set up, whether it's Skype or Crowdcast. You've probably been a part of one of those. You're watching this, so you're familiar at least with the format, and get more authors than ever really to patrons. That's I guess I think one of the bright sides of all of this. If there is a bright side, there's more interconnectivity with authors and patrons and librarians through this virtual platform. So that's a big part of what I do, and I'm very happy about it. So, and I'm Chris. I'm the library marketing associate. So yeah, I don't know if I should have proceeded with that, but
Lainey, tell them what you do.
I'm not Chris, I'm Lainey. But I think, like you said, we bring books to librarians, and one of those ways, there's many, but one of those is I do the podcast for us. We have a great podcast on SoundCloud, and I mean, our main focus is librarians, but it's for everybody. So if you're listening to this, you can download it, you can listen, get the scoop for what's coming, or see our backlist for titles that today we'll even point a few have been on the podcast, including our Venn diagram falls heavily on Kevin Wilson. We love him just as much as you do. And there's a podcast episode with him. So librarians can hear from authors and editors or us and learn all about the book so that they can tell you about it.
We also promote our books to library reads. Librarians across the country vote on 10 books a month that are published for library reads. And so we do our best to get our books on that list. And that's a great accomplishment. And then Lainey and Chris have been calling up the authors and saying, congratulations, you won. And that's on the podcast. Our podcast is super fun. We have a lot of really cool stuff on there.
They want to find it. And so you can find that anywhere I say feed your podcast addiction for the pun, but in iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, but mainly on SoundCloud, you can just go at Library Love Fest podcast and you'll find it there. It's also on our website, librarylovefest.com. So.
Also, back at the ranch in our offices, we have a tiki hut and a video studio, and those two things come in very handy. We talk about once a month, we were getting in the tiki hut and going on Facebook Live and making crazy drinks and being crazy and talking about books and having fun and having guest authors on or people in our publicity or marketing, just to sort of mix it up and spread the word about books. Now we're doing Facebook Lives twice a week. So, but anybody can join, anybody can watch. Patrons, feel free. Come to Library Love Fest on the Facebook page. Our Facebook page every Tuesday and every Thursday at 2:00 Eastern Daylight Time. And we will be talking and sipping. How's that? Okay, so and what makes a summer book? Well, I think that, yes, of course, there are summer reads or, sort of the lighter fare, if you will, but in tone, certainly, but not in heft. So it's not to say that we don't save our serious stuff for the fall. But, if you look at the list and you go to Edelweiss, which of course anybody can do, you can see the kinds of books that we publish throughout the summer. And we also, we do focus a lot on beach reads, sort of fun book club stuff. And but we have a wide variety of titles that we publish throughout the year, throughout each season. So it isn't typically one season for one type of book. But if I had to say what is a beach read, what is a summer read, it's really going to be sort of a fun commercial wide readership. Wouldn't you say, Christopher and Lainey?
Two
Or
words, stop
holiday
praying.
read, definitely be near the holiday.
There you go.
Yeah. I think there's releases for any taste, whether it's a beach read or something with literary heft, whatever, genre fiction. Throughout the year, we're publishing that. So I think that stays consistent regardless of what season you're looking to buy.
Yeah, I mean, we've got historical fiction, Beatrice Williams. I mean, we have really a wide array. So let's get to some of them, should we? So let's show our jackets. It's 4:15. Now, of course, as I said, we did talk about Dorothea Benton Frank, who we loved. Oh, for goodness sake, would you excuse me one moment, please? I'm so sorry. I'm back. Our beloved Dorothea Benton Frank. We lost her in 2019. We loved her while we are talking to the North Carolina librarians and patrons. She was South Carolina. She wrote about the Low Country, and her books were beloved, as was she. And then she wrote this children's book about her young grandchild, Theodore, Teddy Spaghetti. So brokenhearted though we are that she is gone, this is a book that was near and dear to her heart, and she was so excited about it. So we thought we would share it with all of you. Next slide. And then Wine Girl, because it's happy hour, we thought we should throw in a couple of books about wine and drinks. So Wine Girl is a really neat book by Victoria James. And it's about a woman who at just the age of 21 became the country's youngest sommelier at a Michelin-starred restaurant. So this is a really cool book. She talks about her childhood, and she talks about coming to terms with a lot of things that happened in her childhood. And she also talks about the corrosive restaurant industry, which, the behind the scenes stuff, we've all heard stories. But it's also a love letter to the restorative and life-changing effects of good wine and good hospitality. Lainey, do you want to talk about the Instagram?
Yeah, thanks for remembering. I was just thinking about that. She, if you want to learn about the book from her, Victoria took over our Instagram account a few Fridays ago, because during our door-to-door programming, we're doing Friday Instagram takeovers by authors to show you their desk or their homes. And she had a really cool wine cellar tour that she took you on and told you all about her book. So you can find that on our Instagram account anytime. It's at Harper Library. And go check it out, because she's just so fun to listen to, and she knows so much. She's so young to know all this about the wine, and so yeah, at Harper Library.
I hope she would approve of my Josh Cabernet Sauvignon. Next slide, please. Unvarnished. This is by Eric Alperin and Deborah Stahl. This is Kitchen Confidential for the cocktail profession. Unvarnished is a fly-on-the-wall narrative peek at the joys, pains, and peculiarities of life behind the stick. I did not know that term before they presented this book. probably I was the only person who didn't. But the Varnish is a Los Angeles speakeasy, owned, designed, and managed by award-winning cocktail aficionado Eric Alperin, and it quickly became the stylish standard bearer for modern bars. So this is a candid, voice-driven, no-holds-barred look at the workings of a bar and the foundation of the Varnish's success. Attention to hospitality and an abiding belief in the nobility of service. Are we seeing a theme here? Yes. Behind the scenes look at restaurants and bars. What could be juicier? Next slide. Well, you already know about Karin Slaughter. She's just absolutely hilarious and brilliant. This is The Silent Wife. It's the latest in her Will Trent series, the 20th book in her 20th year of publishing. And it's, she's brilliant, hilarious, and scary. What else is there to say? Okay. We get on with
take over our Instagram.
Do tell, Lainey. Yes.
You have to, I can't even give enough words to tell you how great it was. It was so funny. And it will make you smile on days that not many people are smiling. So go check out her takeover as well.
Yes. So tell them how to get to the Instagram.
Yes. At Harper Library, because someone else has Library Love Fest. So we have Harper Library.
Huh, I don't think that's very funny. Okay, so it's 4:17. I'm going to go through 6 titles as quickly as I can so that my beloved colleagues can get to theirs. So we'll start with the first slide and off we go. Next slide should be These Women by Ivy Pacoda, and it is. Okay, so this is the award-winning author of Wonder Valley and Visitation Street, and if you haven't read those, do, because it's amazing. This is a story about 5 women. It's set in West Adams in a part of South Los Angeles, and they're talking about, quote unquote, these women on the corner, women in the club, women who, quote unquote, got what they deserved. This is about a serial killer, but it is not about the deranged man after the female prey. This is why I like this book. This is about the women themselves, their victims, their family members, neighbors, and cops. You never see the serial killer. And we had Ivy Pacoda, the author, on our Door-to-Door series, which I was telling you about before. And you know what she said? Serial killers do one thing. They kill people. I don't want to focus on the serial killer. I want to focus on people who are affected by the serial killer. So you never see the serial killer. You see these 5 different women whose lives are steeped in danger and anguish. This is a once in a generation novel. This is a glorious display of storytelling. This is a novel that you will not soon forget. And I just love her very, very smart take on this. The next book is A Good Marriage by Kimberly McCreight. Okay, there's the slide for that. And this is the author of New York Times bestselling author of many books. Reconstructing Amelia was her big one. That was nominated for an Edgar, and Anthony, and Alex. She also wrote several other books, Where They Found Her and The Outliers, which was this young adult trilogy. But this is Big Little Lies meets Presumed Innocent. This is about a woman's brutal murder that reveals perilous compromises that some couples make and the secrets that they keep in order to stay together. This takes place in very Tony, Brooklyn, Park Slope, and it focuses on a woman, Lizzie Kitsakis, who is working at this law firm, and she's contacted by somebody from her past who's in jail, and he's telling her they've got the wrong guy. They think that I've killed my wife, and it's not the truth, and what's happening here. And so she's drawn into this dark heart of idyllic Park Slope, and that her friend Zach and his wife Amanda were not what they seemed, and that their friends, a close-knit group of fellow parents at this exclusive Brooklyn country day school, might be protecting troubling secrets of their own. It gets a little kinky. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it's super juicy and fun. It's a page-turning blend of legal and dysfunctional domestic drama that reminds us that behind pretty facades, things are often not what they seem. Psychological and emotional depth. It's got more than the usual it's got than the standard thriller. It's got a provocative look with telling insights on a modern marriage. This was also a Library Reads book. It got terrific reviews. Harlan Coben says it's smart, provocative, insightful. He couldn't put it down. It's just so good. The next book is Mrs. Lincoln's Sisters by Jennifer Chiavarini. This goes on sale June 2nd. Jennifer Chiaverini writes historical fiction, and she also writes contemporary books. She's best known for her New York Times bestseller, Mrs. Lincoln's Dressmaker. So she returns to that period with an irresistible book club ready story about the tragic and triumphant lives of Mary Todd Lincoln and her sisters. It's about love and loss and sisterhood, and it's rich with history and suspense. I'm not going to go into it because we have a ton of time, but back in 1875, Elizabeth Todd Edwards reels from news that her younger sister, Mary, former First Lady and widow of President Abraham Lincoln, has attempted suicide. That kicks off the story, and it goes from there. It's just rich in historical nature and sisterhood, and in the hands of this author, you are in for quite the treat. The Color of Air by Gail Tsukiyama. This goes on sale on July 7th. This is a gorgeous, evocative historical novel about a Japanese-American family that's set against the backdrop of Hawaii's sugar plantations. We meet this young doctor in Chicago, and he's finally coming back to Hawaii. He has his reasons for coming back to his childhood home. It's not to revisit the past, unlike his uncle, who lives there with memories of Daniel's father. Daniel's the doctor. And he's got scars of a life hard lived. That's Koji, the uncle. He can't wait to see Daniel, the doctor, coming back from Chicago. He's always thought of him as the son, but he knows the time has come to tell him the truth about his mother and his father. Daniel's arrival coincides with the awakening of the Mauna Loa volcano and its dangerous path toward their village, and it stirs long ago passions in their community. So this alternates between past and present, from the day the volcano erupted in 1935 to decades prior. It's the story that interweaves the story of Daniel, the doctor, Koji, the uncle, and Mariko, his Daniel's mother. It's bittersweet, it's rich, it's vibrant, and it's just beautiful. Next is Universe of Stew by Stephen Kiernan. That goes on sale August 4th. This is a fascinating fictional account of the life of Charlie Fisk, a gifted mathematician who was drafted into the Manhattan Project and ordered against his morals to build a detonator for the atomic bomb. This is such an interesting story. I fell deep into this book about this man who kind of didn't really know what he was getting into when he was drafted into this project. And then when he did, he was in too deep. So this is a historical fiction, but based on this true story, the actual mathematician. It's a riveting historical drama, a beautiful love story at the center of this with him and his wife. And it's a remarkable account of two people struggling to heal their conscience and find peace in a world that is forever changed. And my last book is Whatever It Took. This is an American paratrooper's extraordinary memoir of escape, survival, and heroism in the last days of World War II. This is by Henry Langerer and Jim DeFelice. It went on sale May 5th, published in time to mark the 75th anniversary of V-Day. This is an unforgettable, never-before-told first-person account of World War II. It's the true story of an American paratrooper who survived D-Day, was captured and imprisoned in a Nazi work camp, and made a daring escape to freedom. Henry Langerer is alive and well, and what a story he has to tell. It is unbelievable. It is harrowing, and I encourage you all to look at this book because you will not forget it or him. That is my last book. Look at those photographs. Will that just tear your heart out? Just so powerful, so important, and so proud to have this book on our list. And that's my last book.
All right, over to me. Hello, everyone. Again, Chris Connolly here. I have 6 wonderful books to tell you about, a little different from Virginia's. For summer reads, ironically enough, I like a little bit of a thrill. I like a little bit of a chill. And I have a little bit of both for my 6 titles. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is Empire of Wild by Cherie Dimaline. So Cherie is an award-winning young adult author. She wrote The Morrow Thieves, and this is her adult debut that is a contemporary novel that centers around the Métis community, which is an indigenous community in Canada, and follows one woman's search for her missing husband. So Joan and Victor were passionately married, but also passionately argumentative. And one day, Victor disappears, and Joan is devastated. And after nearly a year, Joan has been drinking. She's in a Walmart parking lot of all places, And there's a revival tent, and she hears singing, and she wanders over and peeks in this tent and sees a man who she thinks and then becomes convinced is her husband. He looks exactly like him, except for he has a different name, a different haircut, different clothes, and he's part of this revival community. She confronts him. He doesn't know who she is. And this sets off this wild, kind of thrilling adventure where she is trying to get to the bottom of who this man is, what's happened to him, and whose influence is he now under. So again, it's part thriller, part contemporary, literary, family drama. It's just all good. And I love when I read a novel and then famous authors agree with me. Margaret Atwood says this is deftly written, gripping, and informative. And Tommy Orange, who wrote There, which was a smash success, said Empire of Wild is doing everything I love in a contemporary novel and more. It's tough, funny, beautiful, honest, and propulsive. I really love this novel. It's really something special. So we're thrilled to have it on our list, and it's coming July 28th. So next book, please. Survivor Song by Paul Tremblay. All right, so this isn't a little scary. This is a lot of scary. So for any of you who like to be scared on the beach, I do. What can happen on the beach? That's why I like a scary novel. This is for you. So Paul Tremblay really came to people's attentions with A Head Full of Ghosts. He followed that up with Disappearance at Devil's Rock, and then Cabin at the End of the World, which really, I think, put him on a next level of literary stardom. He's a Bram Stoker award-winning author, and he always takes kind of classic horror tropes and turns them on their heads. So in this novel, he is taking, of all things, a contagion story, so it's timely, where you are following two very close friends, Dr. Romola Sherman, who's a soft-spoken pediatrician, and her kind of loud-spoken, precocious friend, Natalie, who happens to be 8 months pregnant. They both are living in Boston when this rabies-like infection starts sweeping through the town. Things go on lockdown, and Natalie is convinced and actually does become bitten by an infected human. People become very aggressive, very animal-like. And so Dr. Romola takes Natalie and they set off for a hospital to try to get this baby delivered before the worst happens. So it's propulsive. Again, it's terrifying. I know in times like this, you have different feelings. I found it to be just timely, but also it sucks you in. Like, you're not necessarily thinking about the real world and our challenges we're facing now. This is just an enveloping, propulsive, terrifying novel that you'll lose yourself in. Starred reviews from all the publications. Publishers Weekly says the vividly drawn characters of Romola and Natalie give the story an uncommon emotional intensity. This is genuinely hard to put down. One of the best thriller horror authors working today. We're excited to have this on our list. It's coming July 7th. Okay, a different kind of horror, Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. So Rumaan Alam is the best. He's an author, award-winning author of Rich and Pretty and That Kind of Mother, and he always writes very smart social critiques wrapped up in very immersive storytelling. But this is a bit of a departure in that it does have a horror element involved, where you follow two families. You follow Amanda and Clay, who are vacationing on Long Island. They're renting this Airbnb. They're solidly middle class. They have two children, and this is their week to really get away and enjoy, a taste of luxury. Well, one night the homeowners knock on the door and say that there's this blackout that swept through New York City, and while they were there, they decided to turn around and escape and head back home. And there are tons. I think Rumaan Alam is such an adept critic and visionary when it comes to social dynamics, economic dynamics, different, again, just how people play off each other. And an important note on this is the older couple that own this house, they are Black, and Amanda and Clay, this younger couple, are white. And that's just the initial friction within this environment, because no one really knows what caused this blackout. No one knows what's truly happening. And again, while they're kind of getting to know each other and tiptoeing around each other, the world just might be falling apart. It's unlike anything I've read. It's really just so smart, so poignant, just unforgettable. It's one you will lose sleep over while you're reading it late into the night, as I did. I can't recommend it enough. So that is Leave the World Behind, and that is coming October 6th. Okay, this is a gigantic novel for us, The Cold Millions by Jess Walter. I don't know if any of you read his previous work, Beautiful Ruins, which was a #1 New York Times bestseller. He's written, I believe, 6 novels total, including The Financial Lives of the Poets, as well as The Zero, which is a National Book Award finalist, in addition to many others. He is a master author, and I hadn't read him before, and within 1 page of this book, I knew I was dealing with something special. It really is that quick. The language, the characters, the story, the setting, everything about it just jumps from the page. And this takes place at the turn of the 20th century and follows 2 brothers, the Dolan brothers, young 16-year-old Rye and his dashing older brother Gig, who are in Spokane, Washington, at the turn of a kind of momentous period of the labor movement. And they find themselves wrapped up in this fight for union men demanding fair pay and decent treatment. And along the way, they fall in line with 2 very influential women, Ursula the Great, who's a vaudeville singer, performs with a live cougar, as well as 19-year-old activist and feminist Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, who's a passionate speaker who is kind of at the forefront of this labor movement. But there are forces at play that do not want this labor movement to succeed. And this novel really is both a propulsive story about family, these 2 brothers, the fight for working rights, but also the fight for women's rights and for racial disparities at this time. It's really a special novel that has some very startlingly prescient echoes of what we're going through today. I really can't recommend it enough. It is truly the work of a master. It's a little bit of a wait. It's coming October 6th, but in the meantime, go read Beautiful Ruins because people adore that novel. So, and then my next book, The Guest List. So this is going on sale next week, so you don't have to wait very long. This is The Guest List, and this is kind of a very twisty take on Agatha Christie. If any of you like to curl up with a classic Agatha Christie, this novel's for you. And it takes place on this remote island off the coast of Ireland, and it's kind of this celebrity wedding where a reality TV star and this lifestyle magazine publisher are getting married. They both have this wide array of successful friends and family who are all kind of vile or in their own way, but they're all brought to this remote island with this dark history. And someone ends up dead and you don't know who. And the story unravels as you get various viewpoints of these wedding guests, the bride and the groom, and people involved who are each telling their own story and giving you little hints of breadcrumbs, hinting towards the ultimate conclusion. It's such a fun novel. Again, it's creepy. The setting is just, it's a character in and of itself. And of course, you will be guessing who the murderer is and who the victim is, and you'll be wrong 10 times over, I guarantee it. Again, this is going on sale next week, but if you can't wait that long, her previous novel, The Hunting Party, was a very similar take on Agatha Christie, and you can get that now in paperback, or just go to your local library, rent it out as an ebook. All of these are available as an ebook. We should stress that because I know people might not necessarily be going out. So that's The Guest List, and that is going on sale June 2nd. And then I believe my last novel is Winter Counts by David Heska Wambley Wyden. This is on sale August 25th. This is a debut thriller, one of the first of its kind in that David is an Indigenous author, and this novel takes place almost entirely on a Native American reservation in South Dakota, the Rosebud Reservation. And this follows Virgil Wounded Horse, who is a local enforcer on this reservation. And this is based on real fact where Native American reservations, whenever there's a crime, due to the Major Crimes Act, any a federal offense has to be passed over to them, and they decide if they want to convict or not. And oftentimes what will happen with these violent offenders is the federal government will say, you know what, it's not worth our time and our money, we're not going to convict. And so these violent offenders are let to walk free. Again, that's a real common problem on these reservations. So what happens is Virgil Wounded Horse is an enforcer that families hire to carry out his own brand of justice on these violent offenders. And he's doing that, he's scraping by, and then he receives word that drugs are making their way onto the Rosebud Reservation. These drugs nearly take the life of his own nephew, who he takes care of. And so everything becomes very personal. And he starts kind of, pulling at the thread and realizing that this leads to much larger, more dangerous implications. It's a really, really, I think, tactful kind of social inspection, most of the story is told through Virgil's eyes, and so he's kind of embittered. He's not very happy about his lot in life, so he's kind of, again, looking at life, looking at the reservation's place in modern America and the injustices therein. But again, it's also just this page-turning, gritty crime thriller as he's trying to get to the bottom of where these drugs take place. Again, a host of praise for this novel, including from the one and only Louise Erdrich. So this is a big deal for us. We've had the pleasure of meeting David. We have a podcast episode with him where he explains his work. He's a PEN America Writing for Justice Fellow. He's done a lot of work on the ground about this very issue. So again, we're very excited about this novel. It's coming August 25th. And I believe that's my last book. Take it home, Lainey.
Hi, Lainey again. Guys, I'm going to take us home. We're ready with our first book. It's Team of Five by Kate Anderson Brower, and it's available now. And so Kate is the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, The Residents, the New York Times bestseller, First Women and First in Line. She's a CNN contributor who has spent 4 years covering the Obama White House for Bloomberg News and is a former CBS News staffer and Fox News producer. So she knows what she's doing. She's a long time. She's very well trusted, and she's great at interviews. And you'll hear her commentary on the news. The other day I walked by and someone said, and Kate Brower has a conversation about this too. And so you'll hear her name. She knows her stuff. And this is her new book. It's the fourth in a kind of political series. It's a newsworthy look at the lives of 5 former presidents after their White House years, including the surprising friendships that they've formed through their shared perspectives. And I think the best way to sum all of this up is a bookless starred review. We're so excited about it, but I think it puts it in and it contains it in what is in this book. So it says, Brower does not deny partisan politics, but she finds an overarching spirit of camaraderie among those who've borne the office's burdens. Based on what Brower has learned from the past, she's guardedly and generously tries to anticipate how Donald Trump will fare when he eventually joins this tiny fraternity. Insights into presidential life beyond the rancor of everyday politics will make this a very popular read for the general public. So as we're getting ready for the election, everything's going to be in the news. We're going to be hearing about presidentials past, former, and for the future. So this is going to be a great read to understand where we've come from to get where we're going to go. And it has 16 pages of color photographs. And what I think is really cool, this cover image it features an image of the 5 former presidents taken at the White House lunch in 2009. And this is the first time since 1981 that all living presidents have been together at the White House. So that's a cool photo and a little tidbit. Like I said, it's a perfect gift for readers who are interested in presidents or just biographies in general. And I don't think that you're going to get someone who is on one side or the other, but you're going to learn more about what these presidents think about their relationships with each other, but also this very different White House. It's run very different from when they were there. And so what that looks like in the grander scheme. So next we're going to talk about Exciting Times by Misha Dolan. And this one comes out very soon, 6/2. So you can get it quickly. This is a debut and it's taken off in Ireland where the author's from, and it's just kept going and has just been a juggernaut, like an anticipated book from Vogue, Time, Elle, O, Esquire, Harper's Bazaar. I could spend this whole time reading off who's excited about it. And in this story, I can't believe it's a debut because it's just so beautifully written and it has knocked me off my feet. I love this story so much. We have Ava, the main character, who has come to Hong Kong from Dublin, and she's going to be an expat because she's she's going there to teach at a school. And it's all of the rich kids teaching them English. She just kind of does what the parents tell her to do. And she's kind of lost. She doesn't really know where she belongs at home, and she doesn't know where she belongs here. And she's kind of going through an existential crisis to figure out who she is. And she meets Julian, who's a banker from the UK, and they form a relationship. They move in together, but really all she can get him to say about their relationship is, he says, "I like you a great deal." That's about it. So she can't get anything from him, but she can't decide why she can't be separated from him because she cares for him. And then he goes off on a business trip, and we see Edith, who is a Hong Kong-born lawyer, Ava meets, and they form a relationship that is just so much more than what she's had with Julian. And she's stuck between figuring out her feelings and why she can't go away from Julian all the way. And as he comes back, she has to formulate a plan to figure out which way she's going to go. Again, it's a lot of internal figuring out who you are. And I think it just captures the millennial experience unlike any book I've ever seen, but it's really funny. And the things she says, she just really pushes that envelope. But again, it's not just for millennials. You know, everybody who has tried to find themselves. I think everyone can find something they love about this book. But I just think that is one of the strongest points, is that she captures that millennial experience. Vogue said this debut novel is half Sally Rooney love triangle, half glitzy, crazy, rich Asians, high living, and guaranteed to please. I love that quote. Again, all the reviews are so great. It's politically alert. There's a lot about Brexit in it as well, and so you get to see those inner politics between the UK and Ireland. And in terms you can kind of understand, because these are personal, people dealing with it personally. But this gorgeous writing is just going to be a really great read, and it's going to be great to pick apart at book club. So I hope you read it and find it as delightful as I did. So Catherine House is next, by Elizabeth Thomas. We love Elizabeth. It's available now, and this is another stunning debut. I can't believe it's a debut. She is on our podcast as well, so check that out, and I will talk about that in just a minute. But this debut is a Gothic-infused literary suspense set within a secluded elite university. They follow a dangerously curious, rebellious undergraduate student. She uncovers a shocking secret that an exclusive circle of students maybe has a darker truth underneath the school's promise of prestige. So you will hear about this one. This has been a most anticipated novel by Entertainment Weekly, Cosmopolitan, The Atlantic, BuzzFeed. Everyone's talking about this one because it's just such a juicy read, and it's so greatly Gothic. I think when you're missing that Rebecca or Jane Eyre, that comfort of those dark novels, you can get that, and you can learn more about why Elizabeth felt called to do a Gothic tale, especially because she says, I wanted to write a story about a girl who fell in love with a house. And I'll just leave that as a podcast preview. You have to go hear it. But this house is widely selective in its admission policy. It's put out former presidents and Supreme Court justices, but you don't know how they get in, and you don't know anything about them. They have to go for 3 years, no summer break, no family interaction. You give loyalty to this school, and you give your cooperation, which Inez, who we follow in the story, learns very quickly that her cooperation might not be wanted all the way, and she really pushes those boundaries. She is kind of like sleeps around and goes to parties and doesn't take it seriously, where her friends kind of become brainwashed in a way, and she can't figure out what the difference is while she's not having that experience. And so she sees what secrets she can discover as she peels away these layers of prestige in the school. And the Facade is a character itself. It's just so richly Gothic, and this inspiration comes through. Great for book clubs as well. And like I said, the podcast episode, she has a great story about like secret societies and growing up in a 3-generation Yale graduate household and how that came into the story. So please check that out. So next, I want to talk about Chicano Eats by Esteban Castillo. This comes out in June 30th, so a little bit of ways, but just within reach. Look how gorgeous that cover is. I'm going to explain the picture in a minute, so just hold on a second. But the cover is amazing. That tells you everything that is within this story. So Esteban is the creator of the popular Chicano Eats blog, and he's the winner of the Savor Best New Voice People's Choice Award. And this is a tour through the diverse flavors and foods of Chicano cuisine, Mexican food with an immigrant sensibility that weaves seamlessly between Mexican-American genres and cultures. So Esteban he grew up in Santa Ana in California, and he saw all of this food, Mexican food coming out, and especially Chicano food, and it was not authentic to what he saw. And so he wanted to showcase his love for design and cooking and culture all in this story. And his Instagram account, Chicano Eats, if you want to get a view for this book, go there, because it's just rich and color. It pops, like pop art, and super fun. But then he created this cookbook, which is the first of its kind. It's a bicultural and bilingual cookbook. It includes 85 traditional and fusion Mexican recipes, including mac and queso fundido, toasted coconut horchata, a whole chapter dedicated to tacos, which signed me up. And it's got 100 bright modern photographs, and we've had a lot of early press for the book. Everyone loves it so much. And New York Times Spring Cookbook Roundup, it was included in that. And this picture I made, this is a Jell-O mold that was in it, and it was so good. We did it for a Facebook Live, and I brought a recipe, and I thought I might be over my head, but I was not. It was super easy to make and really good. So I've tried it. It's amazing. Can you show the next slide with yeah, so here's a little glimpse of some inside spreads. Like I said, really cool colors in it, and now I'm thirsty and hungry. All right, next is I'd Give Anything by Marissa de los Santos. So this is from the New York Times bestselling author of Love Walked In and Belong to Me. We have a story of a girl Jenny Beal, who woke up in a life that her mom, her larger-than-life mother, has passed away, and she's about to lose her marriage because her husband is involved in a scandal, and she gains strength from her daughter, Avery. And after this tumultuous time, she has some people in her past come back to haunt her, because when she was 18, 2 decades ago, she's irreverent and funny and brave, and she adores her brother and her circle of friends. But there's one terrible night with a fire where her best friend's father dies, and she thinks she knows who set the fire, and that secret really puts her on a path of isolation where she might jeopardize her relationship with her tight-knit group of friends. So it goes back and forth between these two times in her life, and with the help of her daughter, her 15-year-old daughter, and her old friends, she kind of summons this courage to confront these lies that may or may not be happening in the past, and what she thought happened. It's a wonderful summer read, great for book clubs again, and it's just about finding yourself and righting wrongs, and it's a really beautiful read, so I hope you check it out. And then last for me is one of my favorites, favorite nonfiction, because we are in need of good narrative nonfiction, and I love this book so much. In this book, Compton Cowboys by Walter Thompson Hernandez. In this book, a rising New York Times reporter tells the compelling story of the Compton Cowboys, a group of African-American men and women who defy stereotypes and continue the proud centuries-old tradition of Black cowboys in the heart of one of America's most notorious cities. And in this story, it starts off with a group of men, 10 cowboys, and in 1988, one of their aunts, Maisha Ekbar, founded a junior Compton posse, and so she kind of gave this local group a safe haven. But now, after the ranch is kind of moving on, she's retiring, and she's going to hand over the reins, literally, to her nephews, who have this group of 10 cowboys. They're going to figure out how they're going to keep their ranch, and being cowboys, especially Black cowboys, is not something everyone knows about. So you learn so much about them riding through the streets. But also, this gives them a sort of therapy, because they're working with the horses and becoming one with them. So you think that they're saving these horses from a hard life, but really they're saving these cowboys because they've been through traumatic events, and they can become, they can rely on each other. And so, but also that gives them this mask to ride through the county, and no police is stopping them on a horse. So it's just a beautiful read, but also Walter, he's just a rising star. He travels all over the world and tells marginalized stories and gives them a voice in the world. And so he grew up in Compton, and so you get to really know about him too. So I don't think anyone else could have told this story. And we love him. We also have a young readers edition, so it's great for community reads, or if a parent and a kid want to read it together. We had him on the podcast, and it was one of my favorite interviews to do, because he is such a cool person. And this story also has 10 to 15 photographs. And I just want to really quickly read you something that I think will blow you away, because Walter won the Whiting Award for Creative Nonfiction in 2019 for this book. And the jury said, Thompson Hernandez writes with rigor, gusto, and compassion, allowing his protagonist to have given him unparalleled access to be more than victims or villains. This is a genuine hope in these pages that is neither blind nor cheap. It's vexed, and it's real, and it's genuine, bringing a sense of possibility rather than despair to our conversations about inequality in American life. It's amazing, and I truly hope, if you even aren't a big fan of nonfiction, that you pick this up, because it is such a strong story and it needs to be told. So that is me.
That was super fun. And I wrote down so many things that I am interested in reading. So can I just tell you, Catherine House? That sounds really good. I can't wait to read that. The Guest List and A Good Marriage. Those are the ones that I put near the top of my list. How about those of you listening in? Did you find something really cool that you can't wait to read? We hope that you did today, because I love the wide diversity too, that each of you mentioned, Virginia, that you each, everybody has different things that they enjoy reading. And so each of your lists were really different. But what a fun time. Thank you for sharing that with us. I wanted to remind folks that if you registered for this event in advance through the Library Foundation's page, foundation.cmlibrary.org, that we will send you that great list of, I don't know, what was that, 18, 20 titles that you just went through. We'll send that to you soon, tonight or tomorrow sometime. If you didn't register in advance, it's not too late. So I think someplace on the top of this this event, you'll find that information, or go to foundation.cmlibrary.org and you will find that as well. You guys mentioned a bunch of titles that are coming out soon in the next week or 2 weeks or so forth. So for those of you library folks, we are stay tuned for when libraries are going to reopen. I think some of those might be coming out in a digital version. So check out the library's catalog, cmlibrary.org. You can take a look and see, and as soon as we're open, maybe you can get your hands on a print copy, but certainly also check out the e-version of the books that we have. If you can't wait for the library, I know our bookstore friends would always love your business, Park Road Books or Main Street Books. They will be happy to take your orders for any of those titles that are coming out, and would love to send those to you as well. And Lainey, we love the podcast. I hadn't thought about looking for your podcast. So lots of great comments that we're getting about podcast and wanting to tune in. I think we have a number of library staff that are tuning in, so they're used to seeing you guys with a lot of library professional development. But we know our audience of library users and library supporters have had a fun time getting to know the three of you this evening. So thank you for that. Queen Bee, I want to give a reminder too, if you missed it at the top of the hour, the top of the happy hour, our friends here were gracious to give us a few copies of Dottie Benton Frank's last adult book, Queen Bee. Came out 2019, is that right, Virginia?
Yes.
2019. And so if you are interested in being part of that drawing, make sure that you've left us a comment that says Queen Bee, and we'll go through those and pull out a few of those and make sure you get a copy to maybe jumpstart your summer reading, because that's always fun. What else did I want to mention? We will be the four of us will be talking soon about Verse and Vino. So everybody make sure that you have November 5th for the Library Foundation's Verse and Vino on your calendars, and we'll getting more details about that. So we'll be talking about fall releases. So normally for Verse and Vino, right, we try to look at an author that might be coming out September, October, November, somewhere along in there. Before we leave, do you want to give a shout out to any fall release that people should be anticipating?
Nope,
can you hear me?
Virginia. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. A personal fave of mine, it's not actually in the fall, it's late summer, is Monogamy by Sue Miller. I know that Chris Connolly is also a fan, and this is Sue Miller started with Harper and Row back in 1986 with The Good Mother, and this is her 11th book. And she's back with HarperCollins, and it's a story about a 30-year marriage that it looks like a wonderful marriage between these two people who are very different but very perfectly matched. But when the husband suddenly dies, the wife discovers that he had an affair, and it's sort of a reckoning, and trying to figure out like who was this person, and it's just unbelievable. And she'll be on Door to Door on Tuesday, June 2nd. I did not say that just so that you'll come to Door to Door. I just love that book.
Great. All right. So that's a bonus title we're going to add for late summer, Monogamy. All right, Chris, do you have a a fall release?
Yeah, I have a couple. I cheated and presented a few fall titles, but which I do love, obviously. But one is Moonflower Murders by Anthony Horowitz, which is coming November 10th.
Okay.
That's the sequel to, oh gosh, now I can't even remember the name of the first one. It was so good too.
Murders.
Sorry,
Magpie
Magpie Murders. Yes, yes. Which is again kind of like a meta mystery novel within a mystery. Book editor buys this novel. There's a murder, and the answer is within the pages of this classic kind of Agatha Christie style mystery. Super smart, just brilliant. I love that. And new Jonathan Lethem, The Arrest, coming November 10th, which is a post-apocalyptic novel, but kind of more like a joyous, I don't know, family drama, literary adventure. It's not like dark post-apocalyptic. It's something very new. So I love that novel. Very strange and refreshing. So that's November 10th. That's The Arrest. Those are my two.
Okay. Lainey, how about you? Do you have a bonus title to throw out to us?
Yes. So any rom-com fans out there, we have
Me.
Yeah, we have a really great rom-com called Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellafleur coming in November. And it is 2 female heroines, so it's really exciting. It's like a play on Bridget Jones a la Pride and Prejudice. But yeah, we have like, it's an astrologer who does like a Twitter meme account, which is just kind of silly and starry-eyed, and I don't want to say silly, I guess starry-eyed and dreamy. And her, the opposite is Darcy, who is a very to-the-point person, actuarially, and they get set up on a day and it doesn't go well. So they do a fake relationship to get their families off their back, and it's really fun. And there's little astrology quizzes in the middle. It'll be a fun read. So that's in November.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, Virginia, Chris, and Lainey, you are such wonderful friends of our Charlotte Mecklenburg Library and Library Foundation. We can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with us for happy hour. And I've drank half of my watermelon mint julep. I got a little bit more to go this evening. So thank you for that. And we will be in touch. I know about Verse and Vino, and we can't wait to share Verse and Vino authors for 2020 with our crowd too. We hope that all of you joining in today and watching, you'll stay in touch with us. And our libraries have been really busy this summer, early spring and through the pandemic, and summer's always a busy time. We can't wait to get back into our library branches and see all of you as soon as possible. We hope you'll keep in touch with us through libraryfoundation.cmlibrary.org. Check out our website, sign up for our e-news in order to keep in touch with us. And if you're able, and at this time, we'd always love your support as well. And you can find more information about how to support your library on Library Foundation website as well. So again, to our friends with Library Marketing at HarperCollins, thank you so much. It's been a great afternoon with you, and cheers for more summer reading. Thanks a lot.